Uh, well, the purpose of choosing this topic of dialoguing among the youngsters was simply because, as an youngster, I found a lot of obstacles, both at my residence and in the family and outside, that people always sort of look down upon you and then did not allow you to ask questions. I'm sure most of the families are doing this. Probably in my case, it was more so because I was asking very, very serious questions related to God. Uh, Say, for example, when we do Mangalarati, I would ask them, why are you doing this? Or if you break a coconut before the God, then they would say, why are you breaking the coconut? What is the significance of this? Even the religious rituals, I would question. And these are all uncomfortable questions. I don't know why. Uh, this is one of the reasons why probably we are not taking the youth into confidence and also not able to pass our culture and traditions to them because we do not have a kind of rationality behind most of these things. Or the elders have not understood most of the rationality behind these things. And that made me go forward into the schools, colleges, everywhere. And I found that it was mostly a kind of an isolation. Uh, the teachers would be there. They would come and do their duty in the classroom. And, the students were hardly consulted. They were hardly asked whether they were ready to listen to a class. In my graduation, for example, I took the liberty of telling my teacher today, that day, that most of us are not actually interested in the class. We had some plans to go out. But then the teacher said, no, you have a timetable. You have to sit and listen. Now, the problem is whether you frame a syllabi or you try to talk about the traditions, you try to talk about most of the things in the society, you find that there is a kind of a pressure that is created by the society, which actually demands you to behave in a certain particular pattern and a manner. And this I stopped doing when I became a teacher, when I had things in my command. Even as a teacher for 26 years, when I went into the classroom, I would ask my students, are you ready to listen to me? Are you willing to listen to the class? Only after getting their attention would I talk. If I'm invited to a public speech, I would find most of these people who are engaged in otherwise, I would call them and tell them, sir, can I start? These kinds of consents I felt was essential. Now, why did I do that? There were two purposes for me. One purpose was, of course, I wanted them to listen to me. The other purpose was, if they are my audiences and they are supposed to learn something from me, I wanted them to concentrate. Now, this is not only happening between A and B vertically, it should also happen horizontally. Today, I find many of my friends and the children telling me that they don't have many friends rather. And I find them trying to, use a mobile and have 16,000 friends whom they call as followers. And they're dialoguing amongst these unknown, unseen friends. Now, if I go back to my younger days, I would find that I could go to the ground, sit with my friends, walk a distance, listen to the birds chirping. We would sit on the culverts, discuss so many things. The community engagement was there for me. So thinking about all these things, I said, I should share these things with my youngsters. So dialoguing is very important for me. We need to learn a lot of these things only by dialoguing. In fact, this is an Indian tradition too. Now, I have been talking to you right away, keeping those things in my mind. But I would also give you an option now. Would you be interested to just listen to me talking for 20 minutes? Or would you be interested to have a dialogue with me? What's your answer?
Dialogue.
Dialogue. Good.
Yeah.
One.
Dialogue and listening, sir.
Good. When you dialogue, you also listen. Now I want the number to grow. This is the problem, minority. Now we are so used to listening from other side. I want this to be stopped, including our education system. Please remember, we have not been able to produce Nobel laureates. We have not been able to have one of the best colleges in the world. Why? Simple answer for all these things is that we have never given room for people to talk, our pupil to talk, our students to talk, our colleagues to discuss. We don't accept criticism. We are not open to new ideas. We are not interested in intelligent discussions. We are not the kind of people who would take whatever comes in our way and then say, okay, this is the way I have to be. Please, let us start a dialogue. Okay? Now, you talk to me. I will go on answering you and give my thoughts to you. Through this, let's make this meeting more interesting. Okay? Yes, Varghese.
Fine, sir. Fine.
Mr. Varghese. I can't see you anyway. If you can switch on your cameras, it would be nice. I would know who is not talking to me.
My dear students, if you have any queries or any comments, please have it with sir.
Not necessarily comments. They can ask me anything. I would talk to them. I'm open to discuss with them. Talk to them. Jabin, Mr. Jabin?
Sir,
Yes.
then shall I have a word with you, sir? Am I audible?
You will have to. Yeah, you are audible, sir. Your accent, I have to get used to.
Sir,
There's some disturbance, sir. Hello?
Sir, one thing
Mr.
about
Varghese?
our teaching method. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Tell me, sir.
One thing what I think, sir. One thing what I think, sir. We teachers are going to the class and we teach. We have acquired a lot of knowledge, and which we are so dedicated to pass on to the students. Instead of this one, actually we have to open the window and we should ask the students to see outside. What is the technique that we can adopt for this?
I'll just start with a joke. One of my colleagues came and he said today he finished Nehru. I asked him, why did you finish Nehru? He said, no, it is in the syllabus. I completed the task of teaching Nehru. You understand the difference? We have a syllabi. We are bound by the syllabi. And we are interested in finishing the syllabi. Now, that is where I have a problem, sir. What you say is right. We need the students to come into the classroom and ask questions. Now, please listen. If I go into the classroom to talk about politics, what kind of questions would I expect from my students? I would expect my students to come and say, India is already 75 years, 78 years. Why India has not improved in this, in that area, in this age? Or probably they would ask me, why do we have reservation when Constitution speaks about equality? Now, these are the ideas or questions that are actually troubling the minds of the youngsters in the classroom. I'm giving you a political science example because I teach political science. I taught political science for a long time. Now, we don't answer all these things in our regular classrooms. So, what I would do in my class is keep the weekly 2 days as open classrooms. I won't teach anything. I would just get into the classroom and then start talking to the students, asking about their welfare, and trying to sort of ignite their mind by raising some debates, say about the current politics. Or I would ask them, do you think this is right? Then they would say, no, sir, we want the change in this. Then I would ask them, why do you want a change? One would say he wants a change because of X, Y, Z reasons. Then other one would oppose it. So I would have horizontal and vertical debates going on. And that day, students would come back and tell me, wow, the class was very interesting. Now, please remember, you must have heard to Shivram Karan, one of the great minds of this country. And Shivram Karan made a very beautiful observation once. He said, as long as the students scream and run away from the classrooms or the schools after the 5 o'clock bell, please think that our education system is not improved. It is not doing its job. Why do you think students scream and come out of the classroom when the bell rings? Probably they were not happy inside the classroom. And my experience tells me, on the days when I wanted the students to talk, there would be full attendance, there would be enthusiasm. They knew for Harish, they could ask any question. Now, this is the method through which you ignite the minds. You inspire students. Allow them to have a dialogue. Now, national education policy is also talking about this. It says, please allow the students as stakeholders to understand what they require in the syllabus. Now, if these changes could happen, we could bring about a lot of changes. Similarly, even in our questions and answers in the examination, we are not trying to understand their understanding of the issues and perspectives. We are trying to ask questions about what is already existing and what we have taught them. And they can keep any number of books. You give them a graph and ask them to make an analysis of the graph. They will have to critically think and apply their mind. If you don't do it, our education system would die, sir. We go on blaming Macaulay for this. But my question is, blaming somebody is not an answer. We also need to do our part of the job where, as Dr. Radhakrishnan beautifully said, we must inspire. These youngsters must be inspired. And if you allow them to participate in the class, they will be inspired. I always argued that fear is a wall between the teacher and the taught. Remember your nurseries and childhood. You would go to your father, climb on him, and ask him any question that you wanted. You would not differentiate between your teacher and the parent. You would ask questions. But as you grew, what happened? There was a fear. Because at home also, the mother would say, I will tell the teacher if you don't eat properly. The problem was, my God, teacher became something of a serious issue for me. Instead of learning, I was afraid of the teacher. So the fear was not permitting me to ask the right questions that I wanted to. That is the reason why I said, let's have a dialogue, sir, today. Any other question? See, we are so used to listening. We can't talk from the other side. The purpose of this meeting, I think, Mr. Kose must have thought, is to engage the students in some kind of an understanding so that they can develop their own personality. Yeah, Mr. George and Binaka, you have something? Bianca.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. When
Yeah.
you said that fear about fear, what I am experiencing, this is my
Mhm.
29th year of teaching and learning.
Yeah.
And you know that 20th century students also I thought, but now 21st century students, what I am experiencing in my classroom, fear is not that much like before.
Yeah.
Because they
Right.
used to very open and ask questions and all. And not
Correct.
only that, and but there is a respect. Fear means fear in the sense of that respect is there. That only I can experience in my classrooms,
Good.
especially 21st
Good.
century. Students are
Good.
sitting there here to attend the session also. What I am experiencing from them, it is there is a respect, but there is no fear to ask any type of question.
Good. Then I would appreciate that this change is happening there. But my reply to you is, how has this improved your teaching?
Because there is the students are ready to ask effective questions, means they are asking questions. Definitely, teaching is improving, learning is improving. So
Isn't
when
it?
they are asked question, teaching automatically improving, learning also improving. They are there
Yes.
to ask
And
questions, the effective
and
questions.
and and the innovations are coming.
Innovations are coming, definitely.
Yeah. Results are better. The results are better, isn't it?
Sure, sir. Sure, they are improving.
Exactly.
We
Now
have
that
role models in our school. They
and
never
and
opened,
and
some students, they never opened their mouth, but they are now very free
good.
to talk, free to open mouth, free to ask questions. Questions mean creative questions.
Very good. Now, don't you see their personality growing?
Of course, sir.
Exactly. That is what I want. Your education must unfurl the personality of a student. And this, if it happens, you will see that one day they will ask questions about whatever Einstein did or whatever any of the greatest scientists of this world did. Similarly, in social sciences, we should have some 10 questions like Cambridge questions. Cambridge throws out 10 questions every month for the teachers, students, to the community to answer about their own society. Why not we do the same thing? We have so many social problems around us, right from illiteracy, which has been, of course, eradicated in your state, but then there is poverty. There are no solutions to many problems like, COVID shown us. COVID this year has shown to every government how limited their resources are in terms of health management. So if you can throw up some questions like this and find out how the students are answering, how teachers are answering, I think we can have a wonderful, dialogue. Look at what happened in Delhi. The chief minister thought how to make people understand the Indian constitution and their rights and duties. He conducted a survey and then conducted a quiz. And also he gave them questions. In every school this started. They asked, how do you experience your equality? Are you really feeling that you are equal to other citizens in this society? And you will be surprised to read the answers. Many of them who were facing the social exclusion openly expressed themselves, and that made a large section of the other population to be sensitive about what was actually happening in the society. So my idea of dialoguing is both, as I said, between the students among the younger generation and also between the younger and the older generation. I'm sure your experience is quite well practically giving me the results that I wanted. Are there other teachers who share similar experiences here? Can they share their experience, please? Please come forward and talk to me. Sir, I think your mic must be mute, sir. Close, sir. Unmute your mic. I cannot hear you. Sir, I cannot hear you. I cannot hear you, sir. Mr. Ghosh?
Sir, he will ask you
Okay.
later. He will ask you later.
Okay. Okay. Any other?
Dear students, please ask your questions.
This is the basic reason why I took the topic, sir. I don't know whether they are interested in this program, they're not interested in this program, whether they're listening or not listening, because I can't see their faces. But as long as we don't open up, talk, converse, it's very difficult for us to move on. I don't want any child to be used to only listening from one side. This makes me feel that we are not yet, free, although we may be independent in this country. We need to discuss. How do you feel about this education system? My dear students, how do you feel about this education system? Are you comfortable with this system?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. If yes, why? Why do you think it is comfortable? How is it helping you? Angela?
I think it provides
You're
more
thinking.
education
Uh-huh.
to the topic,
Mm-hmm.
and there is more information. Like example, there are many topics learned in other subjects, and I think every topic has its own unique way of behind. Like that's what I think.
Okay. But are you happy with the way you are learning?
Yes.
Do you want more freedom
No,
to learn,
this is
ask questions outside the syllabus, have discussions with the teachers?
So we are having already personal discussions with the teachers, and it's going fine.
It is? Sorry, I didn't hear the last word. It is?
It's going fine.
Going fine. Okay, good. Anybody else? What do you think is the purpose of this discussion, this meeting? Why is this being organized? See, I'll tell you. When I was young, I used to walk with my dad. And my dad would always be respected by many people. And I always found that he is being respected, and then I would tell him, Papa, when I grow, I will also get a lot of people saluting me. And he was in the university already. And I always told him that I would go higher than the office that he was holding. Shafiza Sulaiman, yeah. So that was always on my mind, the way my dad educated me. You know, my house was like a classroom. My mother was a teacher, my father was a teacher, and they always used to have discussions about grammar, and my house was filled with students. And that made me learn to read, write, discuss, openly talk in the classrooms, because I had the confidence of knowledge that I had. And today, when I became a professor, I started planning my career. And I said, I have to become the Vice-Chancellor of a university, because I had promised my dad as an youngster that I would grow higher to his office. He was the director of physical education. I became a professor and moved on. The zeal that I had, the inspiration that I got from my family, the trust that I started giving on the kind of education that I wanted, and how I wanted to achieve these things in the given scenario. All these things actually contributed me to achieve what I have achieved today. And I'm very happy about my achievements. I'm not shying away from that, because I have got an opportunity to change the way universities function. Within 1 year, I've just completed 1 year of my vice chancellorship. Many of the teachers are coming out. Many in the society are coming out and saying, sir, it's very easy to approach you. It's very easy to talk to you. It is very easy for us to express ourselves before you, because there is no coercion when we see you. Your office is not closed. It's always open. The windows are open. There is no bureaucratic mechanism with me. Now, this is an inspiration which is giving to others. And I walk around, like many of the institutions which have achieved excellence. I also go and sit in the canteen. I also walk around on the campus and talk to students and ask them, what is it that they're expecting of a university? Now, this is actually supporting me to make my decisions. So when I was asked to speak, I told Mr. Koryakos without any shyness, sir, I have never spoken to youngsters. What do you expect me to speak? He sent some clippings, how others were speaking to you. And finally, I decided that I must have a dialogue with you. Once again, I bring back that issue, because I want each one of them to throw questions at me. Maybe it's personal question, I don't mind. Please ask. I want all of you to talk. Public speaking is very important. You want to grow? Air your views. Express yourself clearly. The personality can grow only when you do that. The more you try to suppress yourself, the more you try to hide your personality, the more you try to be a recluse, you will not be able to develop. Can I expect some more questions from you now? Somebody? Anybody?
In connection with what you said earlier, sir, I just want to share something with you.
Yes.
We have exam malpractices.
Yes.
No university is, an exemption from this. And why don't we try the open book text, open text assessment in schools and colleges. Cambridge has tried that in literature and other subjects. Political science or history or any other humanities subject, I think they have vast books also. Even there should be freedom for the students to ask questions like, you are setting an exam. Is it not possible in this scenario?
Yes, sir, it is possible. The only problem that I'm seeing for such a development, which I'm already going around and delivering lectures on, is our vertical teaching, which is very important. When a teacher gets into the classroom and teaches the subject in depth, whether there are 4 chapters or 5 chapters, or 5 units or 4 units, each unit must be taught in depth. He will have to plan his lesson. Once he deals with the topic in depth, he gets to ask many questions. Now, what is happening in social sciences, I'll tell you that is almost very similar to sciences, is we have such words like explain, discuss, or probably illustrate, and things like this. These I call as flat questions. These flat questions do not allow you to go or digress yourself into the depth. But supposing you ask intelligent questions, very simple question like, what is the responsibility of a corporation to its citizens? How many will answer? You can give any book to them. Let them search for answers. Similarly, I will ask you a simple question, sir, for science teachers especially. How many of the research that you do is utilized or read by industrialists? There is no data. People produce papers and publish papers. But my problem is your papers are published and then quantity wise you are showing that you have published 20 papers. But what is the outcome of that? Similarly, our syllabi. Every time you read the syllabi, you have a syllabus which, please tell me, why are we not able to do these kinds, bring about these kinds of changes? So that's exactly what I am looking at and addressing this question. In my university, I would be starting these things because my admissions have just started. And look at the way we conduct even the programs for celebration of an important day, like the Constitution Day the other day. We don't want to say whether we require a different constitution or there are major constitution changes that are required in this society. Our constitution preamble says, we are a socialist nation, but we are following the capitalist path. The contradictions will have to be resolved, but we don't talk about it. That's why dialoguing is very important, so that we can improve, especially we are talking about the question papers and the open book form. The second reason why you don't really require an open book system today is because the continuous evaluation. Now, in the continuous evaluation, please remember, sir, it is the teacher's integrity that matters a lot. In a society where we are divided in terms of caste, creed, culture, the problem is we are not finding a justiciable system of allocation of marks. So what I am propagating is that we should have a kind of a board system where the teachers allocate marks to all the students, and then we take the average and then bring out the average. So that you find that the students who have contributed, who have studied, who have been evaluated over a period of time, which we call as a continuous evaluation, you will have a better result. So this is the way we can think in terms of bringing about certain changes in the examination system. Is that okay, Mr. Klaus? Any other question? Anita, madam, you have some questions?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Sarah.
This is Sarah Sobel. Excuse
Okay,
me if I am off the topic, but I would like to hear your view on one of my queries.
please.
Uh, would you suggest for higher studies to attempt for universities in Kerala or universities in other states of India?
If given an opportunity. Um, I would like you to decide about what area of study you would like to choose, and then select the universities accordingly. For example, if you're looking at some of the social science disciplines, please find out which university, whether in Kerala or in Karnataka or anywhere in the country, is doing better. For example, most of the universities in West Bengal are doing extremely well in terms of social sciences. There are some universities which are doing extremely well in science subjects. So your choice of a university must depend on the choice of your subject and the aptitude that you have to study. Am I clear?
Yeah.
Sir, right now I'm interested in being an architect.
Okay. Being an architect, you have a number of colleges. You can go to the website and then see which are the colleges which have got accreditation, what are the standards, and then you apply for that. Because there are a number of colleges and universities where architecture is taught. Not all universities are teaching architecture. So you'll have to make choice in the limited choice of universities that you have. So you go through the profile of the teachers, the faculty there, which are all available on the websites, and then you will find these details
Sir,
clearly, and then you can manage. Yeah,
I understand there are many universities in different states of Kerala, but I'm comfortable in being in Kerala. So is it the right option?
well, yes and no, because yes, because you are comfortable in terms of your language and understanding. Yes, but no is because if you have a better opportunity to learn in a different university, which is much better than the universities in Kerala, why not? In fact, I would appreciate every Keralite because it is the Keralites who taught us to move out of their states and then earn and come back. And I would tell, Karnataka people are even worse. They look for their own road or their own community, and they want a job next to their door.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. Someone else?
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Anta ma'am. Tell me.
Sir, nowadays we can see that all children are interested in going abroad for higher studies. So does it apply that we have loopholes in our education?
No, I am one of those who don't believe that. But it is a colonial mentality and the discomforts that we provide to our students, our children. See, when they go to the Western universities, they have a method through which the pedagogy, through which they learn. They engage with the professors and the way they treat them. I'm using the word treat them. You don't treat your own students in a decent manner. I'm not saying you means you, generally. I offer my students a chair, even as a vice chancellor. He could be a laborer or anybody. They don't sit. And I tell them, why are the chairs in front of me? Open up, discuss, tell me your problem. So we have a hierarchy created because of the colonial mentality. And that colonial mentality persists even now. You must be seeing advertisements like Fair and Lovely. Why fair? You see a child even now. You appreciate the child carrying it and say how fair the color is and beautiful the child is. I've never understood this logic. Similarly, we are not appreciative of our own universities. We have excellent professors in universities. We have never discussed with them, debated with them. And there is something wrong with the university teachers and professors also. There are a lot of, heart burning. They don't get along. They create problems amongst themselves. And that poses a problem to the student. I'm a victim of that. When I did my PhD, it took 10 years for me to do PhD. You know why? Just because there were two community teachers for which I did not belong. They had a clash between the two, and the sufferer was me. Now, my question is, why do we have such a bloated ego? We are all learners. Teachers are all learners, lifelong learners. We have to get rid of that ego. And one thing that we must remember is after a certain period of time, we are quitting the place. We have to make way for others. So we need to be more humble and then approach the students and then make them understand. If I don't understand something, I would ask them, would you mind telling me why I should do this? If I can't eat something in my fork and spoon, I would rather keep it aside and then eat it in my hand comfortably. What comforts me most is very important. So you'll have to, when I was teaching in Dharwad, somebody came and said, do you want to send students to JNU? I said, no. I want to see a JNU in Dharwad. Somebody asked me, oh, you mean to say you don't want to send your students to Oxford? I said, what is wrong with Dharwad? I can make Dharwad Oxford. It's dedication which is important. A teacher must have been dedicated. If you can find people who can be dedicated and teach, I don't think there is any place other than Earth, because we were once the gurus of this country, of the world. Today we have lost that stature. We need to get back to that. We can do that.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome, ma'am. Any more? I want the students to come up and talk. Break that ice. Ask any question. Don't feel shy. Don't go by my beard. Go by my head. I'm still young here. Okay? I don't like to color myself. That's all. Mr. Kose also doesn't like to color himself. Yeah. We are plain people. Black and white. Please.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Good.
So this is Sansia. I actually had a question.
Please.
You talk about effective communication, like between students and teachers. What about between parents?
I started off with that, Sansia. I started out with that. Parents must be open. They must be the first persons to listen to anything that I say. See, that's how I brought my child. Even today, my child, who is now 29 years, is the greatest friend I have. He calls me anytime, he talks to me anything that he wants. I'll just should not share, but for the sake of my friends here, he once came to his mother and said, Mama, I'm loving somebody. Because this is one of the greatest problems that we have, both in movies, everywhere. You know what we did? Fine, tell us who she is. It's a simple conversation that we had. And he is happily married today. The parents must also open themselves. They must be accessible to the children to talk anything that they want. Don't have the taboos. Don't have hurdles for them. The minute you create hurdles for them, they will not express themselves. My whole idea of choosing this topic is to break this monotony of one-sided discussions. My father used to tell me, you should not put your leg across and sit in front of the elders. I asked him a simple question. What is wrong? He tried to explain to me that shows arrogance, that shows this. And I said, these are all perceptions that we have. I read a small, story that a company called many teachers, many youngsters for an interview. They were choosing for some kind of a human resource development kind of a thing. Many people came, well dressed, not so well dressed, inserting, a plain pant and shirt, and these people were interviewed. But somehow the whole group of people who were interviewing them, who thought they were the most modern people who knew everything, found out that they could not find anyone up to the mark. Then came a guy who wasn't actually well dressed, not even well combed, not shaven. And then he started answering all their questions. And these fellows were very happy. But then they said, we have a condition for you. He said, what is the condition? You must style your hair properly, dress up properly, do this properly. He said, sir, thank you very much for your job. I don't need your job. They were taken aback. He said, no, we are offering you. Do you want more salary? He said, no. He started getting up. They said, what else you want? He said, I think you are not looking for the person who, actually performs on your job. You're looking for a person who is well dressed, well combed, a person who is interested in showing himself that he is smart enough. Immediately, these people realized. They said, no, we will offer you the job. Please take the job. Now, the point is that we must have our priorities right. As children, it doesn't mean that you can ask anything that you would ask your parents. You must also have your priorities right. If you are within your limits, you know what to ask, you can definitely find a good answer. And this boy who got the job later on changed himself over a period of time because he got the job. Similar experience I had. Once I wrote a beautiful article, tried to publish it, and you know the response that I got? You are still a student, so we cannot publish. I was wondering, if the article is worth publishing, how does it matter whether I'm a student or a professor? The content of the article is more important for me. And I wrote another article. Designations matter in this society. We all look for designations. Therefore, I started off a journal called Siddhanta for my students, where they could write anything and publish it. When they saw it in print, they were very happy about it. And that I started spending my own money. And today, it has become a refereed journal called Chanakya. So the point I'm telling you is, somewhere you have to begin, but please know your responsibility. You can do wonders. Parents will have to change their attitudes. Any other question?
Great. Amitabh Bachchan also failed in the voice test, sir.
Sure. Sir, many have failed in their life, but they have not taken it in the negative way. Today, look at Amitabh Bachchan. 5 generations across, he is still relevant. He makes himself relevant. He is one of my models. During my younger days, I followed him, not in terms of cinematic way, the way he presented himself, the way he talked to people. He is so humble. And to be simple is very difficult. That's what Sarojini Naidu wrote about Gandhiji. She said to keep Gandhi poor is very expensive. That is the problem. Anybody else? Come on, there are so many of you. One of you can talk. Anything you feel like asking. If I know, I will say yes. If I don't know, I will tell you, please tell me. I will learn from you also. Lead kindly light. Let the light come from anywhere. I would love to have it. One of the things a teacher should always remember is that teacher gets educated every day in the classroom. My mother was a teacher. She once told me her experience. She was in the classroom and then the inspector came. And when the inspection was taking place, she was worried and she was standing by the side. And the inspector did not ask any question, usual way. He just looked at the students. They were all engrossed and they were waiting for the inspector to go. And he looked at the teacher. And the teacher was worried and she said, "Sir, anything wrong?" He said, No, everything is fine. Then she said, "Sir, should you write something?" He said, no. She didn't know what to do. She's not so much educated. She was only probably SLC plus TCH. And at the time when the inspector was going out, she stood there in a way to ask a question. Sir, then the inspector turned and said, "Madam, I come once in a way. You should be worried about the 60 pairs of eyes which watch you every day. And this is more important for us. As a teacher, who inspects me is not more important. Every day the students are watching me. What I wear, how I talk, what I do. I am being observed. And that is why we call the teaching as a noble profession. Because after the parents, it is the teachers who are the models for the students to emulate. When they emulate, they see the teachers as their models. That is the reason why I tell the teachers, please go into the classroom well dressed, behave properly, use the right kind of language, talk to the students humbly, reach out to every student whom you look at. You are the second parent inside the classroom, inside the school. One thing I like about Christianity is the way they address the children, unlike the government schools. They go to the child and ask, "What is wrong with you, my child?" In the government schools, you don't do that. You say, "What's wrong with you?" The difference between asking about what is wrong with you, my child, can immediately get the response for you. So please understand that we need to replicate certain good things in any education system. There cannot be islands of excellence. We need to understand the best practices of other institutions. Learn from them. A teacher can grow, then his pupil will grow. Okay? Angela, you wanted to say something?
No, sir, nothing.
Okay. Anybody else? I don't want you to be intimidated by my presence, by my looks. I'm a very, very simple man. Somebody used the term simpleton. No, I don't use that word, simpleton. You should know the difference between simpleton and a simple man. Please, let's make it lively.
So I have
A-level
one more
students?
question.
Yeah, Sansia?
So can culture or nationality have an effect on communication?
So both of them have very, very immediate effect. That's the reason why we normally ask parentage. We say, is this the culture your parents taught you? Similarly, on the nationalism, which country are you representing? Where are you coming from? I often see people becoming nationalists and patriots when they go to other countries. I want you to be this within your own country. We appreciate, I see many of the big professors and other scholars going abroad and learning so much and coming back and telling me, in the West, they throw the dust into the dustbin. And as they talk, they throw their mirchi on the street. You know that you're throwing the dust into the dustbin. Is it such a complex thing for you to come and communicate? I don't really understand. Similarly, we do a lot of these things without even understanding. That is where I look at our primary education to change. Primary education must revolve around building good citizenship. They must try to tell the students, take them to the streets, let them see the green light, red light, and orange lights. Let them learn how to put the dust into the dustbin. Let them know how to keep the roads clean. Let them know how to keep their own classrooms clean, not writing on the benches. These are the things that we need to teach when you are young. You don't have to only learn, the tables. Along with the tables, if you learn these basics, I think we can produce wonderful citizens in this country. We are failing in that. Our primary education is failing in it. Spitting, for example. As a Rotarian, I had taken seriously why spitting should stop on the streets. Today, COVID, you have seen how many restrictions are we facing. If only our governments had the priorities right, we would have changed. Even now, spitting has not stopped. Our school environment. How many of the children are interested to go and clean up their own environment? Some of these things will have to be taught at the primary level. If these things are taught, then we can definitely improve and change. So culture and nationalism both are very important because they are the reflections of what we are. I claim my identity from these things. If I'm proud of my India, it is because I have read and heard two good stories about India and the Indian heroes. Could be Drupatunga, could be Chanakyas, could be anybody who built temples, the historical places that we see. It is my identity. I don't say that I'm just a Kannadiga or a Karnataka man. When I was posted to Raichur, many people said, no, how are you going to live in Raichur? I said, what is Raichur? Raichur is not some other country where I can't live. When we are ready to go and live in America or England or Africa, South Africa, why can't I live in Raichur? The question they asked me, is it not very hot there? Where is it not hot today? Then they ask me, are you accustomed to that food? My question is, I prepare my own food. Even now, my mother is 91-year-old and she likes what I cook in the morning because she prefers my cooking, because she practices certain religious thinking. I can't break her away from that religion, her practices. So I get up in the morning and I try to cook for my mother. That's a service I render to her. As a Vice-Chancellor, I always sit down on the ground and the floor and cut the vegetables. It's an excellent catharsis. Cooking is an excellent catharsis. It removes all your stress. So the culture comes from us. In the schools, in the boarding schools, you all can do these kinds of excellent work. Okay?
Sir,
Yes,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sir, does curricular activities play an impact in our future?
Sure. Very true. I can illustrate with many examples. Say, for example, drawing curricular activities, or if you are asked to debate in the classroom or have a group discussion, that helps you to improve your personality as a whole. You will learn to accommodate, appreciate, and work in a group tomorrow. Please remember, if you appreciate somebody who is next to you for the whatever they have done, a good work, you will be more comfortable than criticizing somebody for the sake of criticizing. It is the negativity which flows from you which hurts you. So all curricular activities are very important. Please take them seriously and do it. You may not see the result immediately, but you will see it much later. As an youngster, I wrote letters by the direction of my father. Curricular activities were given to us. Today, I am seeing that most of those things have helped me. And believe me, I don't need to draft a letter because I dictate my letters directly from my mind. When I write a research paper, I sit down on the computer and then write it. Because my thought process and my work skill both go together. So I can produce in easily 20 pages of content, knowledge sitting straight across my computer. And it was a skill. It was a curricular activity that made me improve my vocabulary. Reading, classroom reading, especially louder reading. My dad used to tell me, you must have your body, simulating, mixing with your body language when you speak. I practiced a lot of my speeches before the mirror. The intonation, the variation in voice, the dramatization of your voice as a teacher is very important. A good teacher can attract the students very easily. Emphasis. Where do you have to emphasize? That is very important. And these things are not taught in any B.Ed examination. These are taught at home when you discuss with your own elders, peers. Okay? That's very important now.
Okay, sir.
And you're free to argue with me or reject my arguments or ideas if you think I'm not correct. Okay? Please remember that. You have that freedom. Angela.
Okay, sir.
You don't have to accept everything I say. Please remember that.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Our teachers have a problem.
Please.
I'm talking about the traditional method in which we interacted with our students. We don't entertain arguments. We always loved the children to listen to us, otherwise shut up.
No,
This is
very
the problem.
wrong.
This is a problem with many of our teachers.
Sir, I would suggest that such teachers must be given to some sensitization program. And they must be also given to the training of listening. Why this happens? My understanding of my own experience of nearly 30 plus years is that there are three things which bother these people. One is their ego primarily. If somebody questions them, the status, the consciousness of their ego comes to the fore. So they would like to suppress it. The second thing is their image. We all have our own images built up. And if you're conscious of your image, you would always fight to protect your image. Why am I saying this? One has to understand that one's personality is what brings prestige to the chair he sits or she sits. It is not the chair that brings prestige to your personality. So when a teacher believes that he is the personality and the chair is supporting him, then this problem crops up. And the third and the final thing that I have observed is they have a different opinion of others. They think, all others do not know how much I know, which is a very, very wrong notion in an age of Google Guru. We should be very, very careful about these things because everything that you want to speak or talk is already available on the net. So when a student, an intelligent student questions you, for example, I had a student when I was teaching master's degree in the University of Mysore. He suddenly stood up and gave some name and said, sir, this is the latest book I read. And in this book, he doesn't say anything like this. I remember the name of the student. His name was Rajkumar. 2 minutes, I couldn't answer anything to him. I just stood and then I said, I'm sorry, Rajkumar, so far as I know, there is no book written by this gentleman. If I'm wrong, please tell me, I'll try to buy that book and read. And you know what he did? He laughed and he said, sir, you are right, there is no book like that. I just wanted to test you. Imagine if I had only told him, no, I know, yes, that is not the right way to approach, then I would have been a much meaner teacher than what I accepted. So a good teacher is one who actually, that's why I said, being humble is very important as a teacher. Learning is a process which actually softens you. Education must soften you so that you listen to others carefully and reflect on whatever they are saying. Maybe tomorrow you can come back and say, oh no, sir, I did not agree with you. I thought it over. Fine, nothing wrong. Please see, sir, if such training could be, a kind of sensitization program could be organized. There are people who can do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Do we close or do we have some more time, sir? Anybody else?
Sir, I have one more question.
Please, Angela.
In my view, I think putting more quiz games while teaching is more fun and interesting to learn. So what is your opinion?
Could you please repeat the question?
Yes, sir. I think in my view, putting more quiz games while teaching is more fun and interesting to learn. So what is your opinion?
I agree. See, it should not be a kind of a hindrance, but if you ask a question and the teacher is teaching, there are people who do this kind of gimmicks also. But if it's not a gimmick and if it's a serious interaction, I would respect it. It is easier to learn better. You can always mix that kind of an engagement with a teacher. I agree with you.
Okay, sir.
Anybody else?
So I have a question.
Please.
So I don't know if it's off topic, but how could you convince your parents if you want to go and study abroad? Because some parents might be strict about how you want them, how your child has to be, and certain perspectives you have to follow. But I feel like
Oh, Judge and Binaka, please. Yeah. Please go
every
ahead,
student.
Cynthia.
Yes, sir. So I feel like each individual child has they can be what they can be. So what do you think about?
I agree with you fully. Because if the child is not able to grow, and if the child is to be kind of a blocks kept in the game, and you design a baby as you want, then I don't think you're creating a personality. You're molding something. A child is not a mold. A child is a living being. As parents, we have the responsibility to understand and appreciate the attitude, the aptitude, the interest of a child. It's only then the blossoming of the child takes place. I could have argued that my son should be a professor. No. I had many choices. When I did not get a job up till 31 years, I opted out for several things. I wanted to be a good receptionist in a hotel. I wanted to be a politician. I went to corporation elections. I wanted to be a mechanic because they were fascinating for me. You know how my father convinced me? He said, Hari, if you do all these things, you'll have to work harder in your life, throughout your life. At 60, you may not be able to do the same thing. But if you become a teacher, you can enjoy the facilities of a leave, vacation, reading. You will have family with you. Convincing ways are there. We can debate and discuss without kids. After all, they're my kids, our kids. What is the problem in talking with you? And ultimately, if you decide to do what you want to do, and if I have the capacity, I must permit you. My son once got a seat in the university for his physics MSc. I could pay nothing. It was hardly 2,000 rupees. But he came back next day and he said, Papa, there is no theory there. I want to go to an institution where theory is taught well. I said, okay. Without knowing what would be the cost difference. The cost difference was 80,000 rupees in the private institution. This was 2,000. But I foregone many things to see that my son joins that institution. I would suggest probably, I don't see any problem with you or your parents, but I would suggest that you talk to your parents once more and make them understand, well, whatever I want to do, whatever a child wants to do, it's the responsibility of the parents to support. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Siva?
So actually, I have many thoughts and questions, but I can't stop time, so I will ask one. So here's my thought. So curiosity is what drives the student, and curiosity is what is a cornerstone to learning. And what I think is that society and schools knock down this cornerstone.
There is some disturbance. Somebody else has switched on the mic, and Antika, please close your mic. If you have too many mics open, then I can't hear you properly. Siva, could you please repeat your question? Curiosity.
Yes, actually, sir. Yes. So I just want to ask that. I just want your views on curiosity. So curiosity and embraced.
Right. Curiosity is one thing that I want you people to have always in your life. The idea of going out and seeing the stars in the middle of the night is wonderful for me. If you stand before a tree and appreciate the tree with all your curiosity and awe, is very important for you. Because life must be filled with, these kinds of surprises, curiosities. And only then we learn. That is where your Google Master comes to your rescue. I'll give you one example. We all read newspapers, do we? Probably whenever we find time. When you find a word like rendezvous with R-A-N-D-Z-E-V-O-U-S, you cannot read it. Has it any time made you to go and look into the dictionary and understand how it has to be pronounced, what the word means, why that has to be understood, and the like? Or have you ever wondered why Deccan Herald used to give word a day? Have you ever wondered the nature of cat and the nature of a tiger being very close? Have you ever wondered why a child can only spill or spread or throw anything While the parents always say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. I keep telling the parents, I'll give you some powder. Can you spill the powder on the floor? They will say, no, no, why should we do that? They have lost the fun. When their child does it, they cannot even tolerate it today. They think it is indiscipline. No. Child is curious. It would like to know what it is. When it spills the water, it understands that the water is spilled and it goes everywhere. It looks at what the parents are doing. You're cleaning it up. It learns, it is learning a lesson out of it. That's why I made a wonderful, phrase. I said, our experiences may be different. When experiences may be the same, but our expressions are different. We all have experiences, but the expressions are very different. Therefore, I appreciate if you have curiosity. If I did not have curiosity, I would never have been a vice chancellor today. I had the curiosity to think that I must change the whole idea of education. I will do it in my university and show it to others. And therefore, I am today here. I want to be an example. I want to set an example. How much I succeed is not my problem. I may succeed 25%, 15%, or 60%. But I will try to do what I think should be done. And curiosity is one of the finest things that you should have. Once my father-in-law, who was a doctor, he practiced a kind of a free medicine. He helped people with his own salary and was trying to help. I had a professor friend, a colleague of mine, who always had problems. Every day he had problems. One day he came to him and asked him, sir, I have problems. You are a doctor. Please solve my problems. This fellow, my father-in-law, is not interested in money. He said, no. You don't have any problem. He said, sir, I have. He said, you don't have any problem. Then he said, why do you say that? He just asked him a question. When was the last time you and your wife sat on the terrace of your house and watched the stars? He said, I have never watched it. He said, please go and do that. You will be healthy. These are the simple things of curiosity in life. We can all be healthy. We don't do those things as we grow. There was a beautiful poem about this. A mother used to feed the child, showing the bird sitting on the tree and talking to the baby, and the baby grew. And as the baby grew, one day the tree was cut. The baby looked at the tree and felt very bad. Others who were besides that, they said, no, this tree was a nuisance. It was creating problems. It was hitting the electrical poles. It was bringing up our compounds. You know why the child had that? Because it grew with that tree. It was the tree and the bird that sat on the tree that made the child eat well, grow up. So we all have our references in societies. We must be always, thinking about how we pay back. For all these things, you need curiosity. You should reflect upon these things. That is the true education. I like it. So keep up your curiosity if you have. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you all.